41. I am Brian Rose, and we are here at London Real Studios. But this is special because it's Real Talk. And I am joined today by Lisa May, founder of Expat Real, global traveler, and founding, I think, 50 member of the London Real Academy, Business Accelerator graduate, all around London Real extraordinaire. I think you must have a London Real tattoo on your body.
Soon.
Lisa, welcome to the studios.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. I said earlier that this is really London for me, being in the studio.
Being in the studio.
Yeah, the studio. London is all about this studio.
Well, you know, you came in at a crazy time because you just saw our Business Accelerator graduation. It was like 30 people in town, the super focus group, and there was all the craziness. So I'd really like to get your thoughts on it. But before we jump in, tell everybody a little bit more about Lisa May.
Oh my goodness, a little bit more. I'll have to pick something. Well, I can say in a past life, I used to be a performer. I'm a trained opera singer. I raised a family of 3. My children are grown, soon to be 29, 25, and 21, all on their own, doing their own thing. My son is a musician. Actually, all the kids have artistic talent, and they're just out there finding themselves and finding their niche. And I typically, after a mom has kids that are out of the house and is empty nested, she's like, well, who am I? And what am I supposed to be doing now that everyone's gone? There's no one to cook dinner for, and so on and so forth. And I got this idea that I was done with the city, and I was done with city living and such and thus. And one day I decided I was leaving. A friend of mine was living in Belize. We used to work together in Washington, D.C., and we'd chatted but hadn't really kept in touch. And then one day she said, Lisa, you have to come to Belize. It's amazing out here. That was like 2 years before I left D.C. It got cold for the last time for me, and I was like, I'm out of here. And
where's Belize?
A lot of people ask that. It's actually on the coast of, when I say the coast, it is just at the bottom of North America, not almost at that little tiny strip that holds together North America and South America. Okay. So it's on that little coast, and it's between Guatemala and Mexico.
Okay, so not far from Panama.
Not far from Panama at all.
There was that show back in the day called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yes.
Wasn't she in Belize?
She was in Belize.
See? I knew something. Okay, and so for all the live calls that you were on back in the day, you've always been in Belize, right?
For the accelerator calls, yes.
Okay, and before that, when you used to be on our webinars, were you in Belize as well, or were you in Mexico?
No, I was in 9 other countries.
Oh, 9 other countries. That makes sense. Okay, continue.
And so basically I hung out in Belize what I thought was going to be for the winter. And then I made a few friends, and there was Wi-Fi, and I was working online. I've always been a secretary all my life, and it was something I never wanted to do, but I guess it's one of those things, you pick up a trade and you just make that check. Like it's all about making that check, paying those bills. But when there wasn't all the kids and everything like that, my expenses were so much less. And then I got to Belize and my expenses were so much less, and I didn't need much. I found that because I love the beach, I just needed the beach, and it doesn't cost anything to be there. And there was Wi-Fi on the beach. I said, this is it. I need Wi-Fi, I need sand, a couple of beers, and I'm good, you know? And then I started seeing ads. You know how Facebook always picks up on your words, and they're always watching what you're talking about. I saw ads for house sitting, and I thought, so I watch someone's house rent-free, and I use their internet, so bill-free, so I can work and make money expense-free. That's a no-brainer. And so I started getting house sits, and I started getting referrals to go to 9 countries, and I ended up touring Central America and going to Colombia and South America. I haven't finished South America yet. But I wanted to make it over here to London so I could see you guys.
Yeah, well, let's find out, how did you stumble on us? Why London Real?
Okay. So I get to Mexico. Mexico's my first house sit. It's a 9-month house sit in a 2-bedroom cottage off the beaten path in Mexico. It was darling. 1 dog who all he wanted to do was be fed and loved. Done. And I was at this point where I was like, okay, I'm a secretary. That's great, you know, from Mexico, but there's gotta be something else. Like, this is boring. And in the process, I'd had a pretty rough life, in general, and when I say pretty rough life, it's sometimes we make it more difficult than it needs to be. And I really did make myself a pretty difficult life. And so I wanted to shed a lot of that and go, how can I make it easy? What can I do? What's in my control to make it easier? So part of it was, you have this webinar about, I don't know if it's about getting rid of a lot of your contacts or people who are not serving you in your life, kind of thing, or maybe zapping you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I did that. I started doing that. And that was before you did the webinar. But I was happy to see the webinar because it kind of
reinforced that idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so it's not just me. But then it was kind of lonely because I didn't know how to get friends that did work with what I wanted. And then it went to, well, what do I want? Who am I really? That's a good question. So I was at that mode. I was kind of an empty shell. And then I got into this thing about money. I was like, what is my thing with money? Like, how come the bills are never paid? Like, the kids are not here, but I'm house sitting as a form of getting by. It shouldn't be that way. Like, what's going on? So I said, I want to know what do millionaires actually think about? They couldn't possibly wake up in the mindset of a millionaire. And my family in general sort of has this concept of, well, they're rich, so they think different, they are different. And I thought, it can't be everyone. There's some people who are born into it, like royalty, but there are some people who just sort of make it. They were poor and then they became rich. So I'm like, no, there's gotta be something else that they're thinking about every day like a regular person. What do they wake up thinking? So I Google millionaires. What do they think about? Your show came up.
Really?
I swear.
What show? Which one was it? Do you
Wealth
know?
Dragons, John something.
Oh, John Lee. Okay, all right.
John Lee.
Okay.
And then I was like, this is interesting. And I never heard of this guy. And then I started going through your interviews, not watching them necessarily, all of them. I haven't watched all of them. Like, there's some diehard members here that like have seen every show. I'm like, oh, you guys are
like
serious.
400 shows.
It's crazy. But what I really liked was that you were doing interviews with really amazing people that I'd never heard of before. So that was like number one, like this was serious business. Because I don't really the only person I know is Gary Vaynerchuk in terms of like podcasts and things like that. So that was an interest to me. And I said, well, are they all millionaires? Are they all like, what is this? And then I saw Dan Pena, the billionaire.
He's actually not a billionaire, but with a name like the $50 billion man, it's easy to make that mistake.
It's easy to make that mistake.
It's a great name. It's a great name.
But even it wasn't necessarily, part of it got me because I was starting to look at your persona. And I was like, this Brian guy is like, he acts like a New Yorker, but he's not from New York. And so I started kind of watching, but you and I have these sort of similar temperaments.
Apparently we're twins separated at birth.
At birth.
That's what you told me when you came to London. You're like, Brian, we're the same.
We're the same.
Like, okay, I trust you.
You went one path, I went another. But we're very driven, and I feel like there are some reactions. And the only reason why I say that is because I saw some reactions. First of all, you're a magnificent interviewer.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
How you don't react. Like, there's so many things when I watch the interviews that I react to, and you're just like, yeah.
Like when Dan Pena calls me a cunt.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It takes
was
conditioning.
amazing. It was amazing. And I was like, how is he sitting through this interview? This is crazy.
I'm just thinking of all the views I'm getting. So I'm just like, oh yeah, come on, give me some more. Yeah.
And that's when that is what sucked me in. It was more of the dynamic and how you were dealing with it.
Okay.
And I was like, how did he learn how to do that? Because I needed to learn how to condition my reactions, because it's not always about the emotion or the reaction. What is the bigger picture? And your bigger picture was, you're thinking about the views, you're thinking about all these other concepts, where I would be totally zoned in, like, why are you talking to me like that? And so I was really, really curious about how you did that.
It's really deep, Lisa. Seriously. I haven't actually heard that before from someone that watches the show and that was curious, to watch that and that was thinking about controlling their own emotions and reactions. So That's interesting.
I was
I'm not all just thinking about the views. Like usually, I've invited the person in here, so I've got a pretty good chance that I want to hear their message, and I want our viewers to hear their message.
Right.
And so when they're here, I like to give them the chance to be themselves. And so that's always my aim. I'm like, I feel like I want to do my very best to give the world the best impression of them. Even if I don't like them or don't agree with them, I feel like it's my job. Like they're in my home. This is
Right.
my home to a certain extent. And so I always want to be like, all right, well, go ahead and let's give you your best shot. That's what I'm really trying to do. I don't know why, but that's what I
Part
do.
of me also thought this is my perception, and definitely, well, you've already explained, but also definitely let me know if I'm wrong. I felt like you were looking for that change as well, because of course this is all about you doing Wall Street, doing banking, and then leaving it because you needed a change. And possibly your exploration was to get these interviews and to see how you could pick that person's brain, but also do something for them, add value to them, to have these interviews, but really you're sitting here picking their brain.
That, and this is one long 5-year therapy session for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting my own problems out as I talk to other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things going on here, a lot. So I'm guessing you're seeing a lot of those things. All right, so
Yeah.
you found Lee, you started watching our shows, you became interested, and then you saw that we were having an academy and you just jumped in.
Well, here's the other thing. I started watching the show, I think it was like a week before you had the academy. It was like, it was during the Chris Eubanks, when you aired Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you something really embarrassing about me. I had no idea. First of all, I had no idea how limited my mind was until Chris Eubank. I never realized that there was a black boxer outside of America.
Interesting.
I had no idea. Like, I was a little onto the fact that there were black people in England. I was
Okay.
like, I know they are, but to me, that's Jamaican. Like, it's not.
Okay,
You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. Okay, that's interesting.
And
Okay.
so when I saw him, and of course he was so like English, which I know he'll love.
Yeah, that's his nickname, English. Right?
I was so impressed, and that's when I realized, Lisa, you got to get out. You got to get out of your head.
Okay.
How could you, like, that's the
Not know
silliest thing that I ever heard, but it was me. It was coming from me.
Right.
And so I was like, there are black boxers in England? And of course there were a bunch. I watched the documentary on, once you interview someone, and I'm really into them, I start YouTubing them and I start studying them and
Learning
watching
more
all
about them.
their documentaries. And so I couldn't believe it. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's like a whole world that exists beyond my head. Like, this is insane.
That's an interesting observation. That's really good. I think a lot of people could pick up on that as well, of you observing about yourself, because I think everybody has these blind spots they just put up, and that's interesting. Also, when you're in America, you're very America-centric. That's
Yes.
kind of the way you're brought up, and so
Yes.
I guess that's not that crazy, But okay, interesting. I just had Nigel Ben on here as well a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Another one, and now both of them are blowing my phone up trying to get each other to do this fight. So I'm becoming a boxing promoter, but don't tell anybody.
I'm not going to say anything.
Don't tell anybody about that. But all right, that's really interesting. All right, so you started
Yeah.
learning about these people. You started Googling them. You're right. It was right before we started the academy, which was April, a year and a half ago, basically. And so, boom, you must have jumped in. And we used to do these webinars every single
I was on
week.
it.
And it was me and Julian in the other room, and we'd be teaching everything, meditation, how to find a mentor, all that stuff. And you were
Yeah.
always on it.
Yes.
And I was like, who's this Lisa May?
Yes.
And you would put pictures. You put your first vlog up, I think.
I
You walking
did.
around
Oh
the
my God, I was
neighborhood.
in Mexico.
I was like, who is this black lady?
I was terrified. Can I tell you, I almost cried on the first one. I was so nervous to do it.
Really? Oh, for the vlog, really?
Yeah, I actually, the vlog I posted was the second one. I was like, okay, let me get it together. Pull yourself together. It's a vlog.
Look, putting yourself on camera is no joke,
It was serious.
It really is no joke. And we make light of it now. I mean, now you broadcast your show, so
Yeah,
you're used to
yeah.
interviewing people, and I want to get into that.
Yeah.
But I sat here on Saturday, you saw me, and I interviewed like 23 people from our Business Accelerator. And the thing that came up more and more, not that they sold product in 6 weeks later and got money, not that they turned their passion into a business, not that they connected with all the people around the world, which was dope, but just the fact that they put themselves on camera.
Yeah.
That was their biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
And these people paid $3,000-$5,000 to be on this course, and that was their big takeaway.
Yeah.
So getting yourself on video is, it's a life-changing experience, right? Look at you.
It's huge. It's huge. I still, of course I consider, but even not to dip too much into the accelerator before we dip into the accelerator, it's like I'm still not pumping how I need to be pumping. Like I need to get, the moment I post something, the response is incredible. And it's not half as much as response as I could actually push. And so there's still this like, gotta get organized, gotta put out more, gotta get it out more. And I barely do a percentage of what I actually could do. And I'm just so impressed with the response that I get and people just wanting to know more and know more and know more.
Well, they're feeling your energy. I mean, look at you right now. Everyone's loving it. You know, people are counting.
Right.
Zoe Fox is saying you're radiating through the screen.
Oh.
Zoe's been here. She was here in that chair a couple months ago. Sonam's watching. Luis Carria's gotten tons of loves. So, like, everyone's loving you. You got great energy. And you're remarkably relaxed. I was joking with Lisa. Most people get excited when they're in the studio. Lisa was like, yeah, whatever, we're live. Okay, so you want to do more video. Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all right, so tell me about Expat Real and then tell me about your Business Accelerator experience because that happened really out of the blue and that was amazing. So tell me about Expat Real because a lot of people are like, Brian, what are these reels? There's New York Reel, Olive doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
There's Tony Flow Reel doing Flow Reel, but he actually was Flow Reel before London Reel.
Yes,
I heard that story this weekend. There's like amazing reels around the world. Vancouver Reel doing amazing work. Tell me about Expat Real.
Well, Expat Real, I'm going to pay homage to Olive actually, New York Real. She's the one that kind of got me pumped on it. I did think as I started traveling, I started interviewing people without videoing them. But I was curious, like some people had really found their homes. So every time I traveled to another country, I'd meet the expats there. Like that was my thing. Where are the expats? Let's get to know the area. Like, let's get down. What's going on in Nicaragua and all this, you know? And so,
that should be a bumper sticker. What's going down in Nicaragua? Okay.
And so after a while, I started asking people because I was curious. I was like, what's a guy like you doing in a third world country like this, living here for the rest of your life? Like, what's that about?
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, they're like, I'm trying to hide out.
That's it. I'm just like, did you run from something? Are you friends with OJ? Like, what's going on? And but really, it was just sort of retirement is not what it used to be, and trying to live within your means is like a real thing for people. And it's either get 2 or 3 jobs plus retirement to live the life I'm accustomed, or go to a third world country and live like a boss on my retirement.
And so you created this show to teach other people, well, we'll get to your business later, was to teach other people what you can do because you were living like a boss down there.
Yeah.
And also not paying to live like a boss.
Exactly. I like took it to the next level. And it's not for everybody because house sitting really, if you do it long enough, you will get into a networking zone where you can get referrals. You know, some people leave their homes for a year. So take expats, for example. They think that they want to live forever, and let's use Nicaragua in Managua. Managua is like a tough spot. Like you really have to make it your own. There are places in Mexico where you just walk right in and it's Americanized and they got you covered. But there are places like Nicaragua where you have to get used to a lot of things. And you do have to make it your own. You have to Americanize it yourself, and it can never be fully Americanized. So you have to make concessions. So some people do these things and then realize, I can't do it. I can't take it. I'm going home, or I'm going someplace else, or whatever. And there's no way for them to sell that house. So they put it up for sale, but they need someone to stay there. They may never sell that house, but they need someone to stay there. They could probably rent it out or whatever.
Okay.
So, because the bottom line is someone could squat in that house and then they lose it forever. They have no value.
Okay, all right. So this is a lot of insurance there, having someone there. Okay.
So you could always luck out and get a house sit like that.
Okay.
And it's not very hard. But you have to pay into that system, so you're always looking for a place to live.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and so that's how Expat Real was born?
Yeah.
So just to recap, you found London Real because you were looking on how to have the millionaire mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And then also at the same time, we were talking about upgrading your peer group and purging your old toxic peer group, and that kind of, that was kind of what you were thinking at the time too. So
yeah,
I was. Like-minded.
Well, I want to upgrade my quality of life, but the way that comes around is you got to start with core self. You got to start And here's the other thing. I wanted better relationships. I was always, magnetized to these like really awful relationships, But what people, I find, and I include myself, you kind of come at wanting a good relationship from the victim side and saying, well, I always seem to be around these other people, or they always seem to come around me. But when in actuality is you're mirroring things in yourself in someone else, and so that person sees that and they come to you. So when in actuality, if you want a better relationship, you got to get back down into yourself and decide what you want and what you're happy with. And when you start emulating that happiness of being happy being in your own skin and who you are and accepting who you are, then it changes the game and you're getting other people to magnetize to you. And so I have been doing that for 2 years off of London Real webinars.
Wow, well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have been making progress.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I didn't know you that well 2 years ago, but
No.
you seem pretty solid right now.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's still, I'm sure everyone experiences this. You work hard, you work hard, you work hard, and then you plateau, and you're like, I'm here, man. I'm it. And when you say that, that's when you break down again, and you realize, no, you're not it. There's an entire universe. You're just a pea under a bunch of mattresses, And it's not about starting all over again, but it's about the fact that you're at the next level now. And so once again, you're just a little fish in a big pond, and you got to build in there, and you got to get yourself together. So I'm at this next level. And, I could say that it's scary, but then after a while, it's like, oh, come on. You've got what it takes. Let's just, enough already, just go. Whereas in the beginning, you're sort of like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do a vlog. What if it doesn't come out right? Blah, blah, blah. You have all these, that voice that's in your head. And after a while, when you start getting to the other levels, it's like, do me a favor with the voices. Kill it.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yeah, and we pushed through a lot of those voices, I think, when you were in the program.
Oh, yeah.
John McMahon, he was here on Saturday, and he's a fascinating guy, right?
Yeah.
And he said something, he said, if you're not, you're always moving one way or the other. You're either growing or you're contracting. You are always moving, and I agree with him. Yeah. So yeah, I see what you're saying. If you get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I kind of got this covered, or you're plateauing, or you feel like you're getting to the top of the mountain, sometimes it's a sign that you're just not, because you have to constantly work at it every day, constantly to push all aspects of your life to improve them, or they do start sliding. So that's a good observation. Yeah. So you joined our second Business Accelerator program.
Yes.
Tell me about what was going on in your life. Why did you want to take that experience on? What made you want to go do that? Because you had your podcast, you were doing your thing. Why get involved in that madness?
This is crazy because I had to ask. I really had. That's so funny. I still didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I was ready for a next level. But there were those voices where I was like, am I worthy of a next level? And it was weird because, yes, you have your sort of marketing thing, your very soft marketing thing, where you've got the emails coming out like, hey, Lise, why don't you join the accelerator, And it was really weird because I literally was at the moment where I was like, I need to start doing something. I need to really push this out. Forget this one show every few whatever when I feel like doing a show. Like, I need to get on a system and get something going. And you already did the social media webinar, which was a little piece of the accelerator.
Right, and you were on that. Okay.
I was on that, and I said, you know what? Maybe I can't really afford the accelerator right now, which I think is a shame, and that needs to be top of my list. Let's start having financial goals. And that was going to be a financial goal. Probably within an hour that clicked in my head, and that was a financial goal. And I started planning out, like, how was I going to get to this goal? You emailed me and said, I think you should be in the accelerator. And I was like, stop. What? I was like, what is going on? And then I wrote you back, and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I could really afford it. I said, but I'm making the most out of your free webinar. I swear to you. I'm like breaking it down, and I'm making my own plan and just doing the best I can with it. And it was either that night or the night after. I was talking to Joe Salazar. Joe Salazar and I were kind of going back and forth. And
Graduate
I was
from our first class.
From the first class.
Yeah, Joe's great.
I started asking him about it, and kind of what did he get at? And so we were chatting about it. It was like for me, it was the middle of the night. For you guys, it's probably, I don't know. And as we're talking, you emailed me and said, I'm going to do a scholarship competition. Here it is. And I was like, get out.
Yeah, and then you went aggro on the scholarship. And there was a few people that were going after that scholarship, and they were posting videos and writing blogs. I don't know what the heck was going on, but you took it to another level. Lisa, you scared me there.
The funny part was that I wasn't going to do it. You gave me a week. I wasn't going to do it.
Really?
Because I didn't think that I was worthy of the class. I didn't think I had what it takes to be in the class, and I didn't want to waste your scholarship. And I didn't say anything to Joe. And Joe's like, well, if you need me to help you, blah, blah, because Joe's a great writer. And I just was like, I don't know. I really expected people to really come out the gate with like super duper media stuff. And then 2 days before, I think Joe contacted me and said, are you going to do it? You're not going to do it? And I just decided to make a decision. I'm going to go all in. And so I quickly did the script. I mean, I did literally, I think I had 2 days. And I did it all in 2 days, and I pumped it out. And Olive's helped me with tweeting. I didn't know jack about tweeting.
Even after our social media webinar?
Not really. I just knew I had to.
Okay, all right.
That's all I knew.
Okay, that's
and
good.
I tweet a few things here or there, but I didn't know anything about tweeting. And I needed to know right away. And I contacted Olive. Olive was like, here's what you do. And she sent out a tweet and somehow tacked it on to different people, got different groups involved who had followers, who had millions of followers. And then they started tweeting my stuff out. And I was like, oh my God. So, I mean, I take my hat off to Olive. I take my hat off to Joe. They both helped me with content and stuff. But in actuality, I only did half. There was one, I told Olive, I said, I'm trying to check on other people to see what they're doing. How many followers do they have? She says, don't check on them. Just do you. Just keep tweeting. Don't waste your time. And
Amen.
It was crazy, Brian.
Amen. All right. You get the scholarship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we won't tell anybody about the cash under the table.
No, we won't talk about the cash under the
table.
table.
It was hard times, Caden needed brand new shoes. So I know he wasn't born yet. But you get the scholarship. It was a few people involved, but you were just like, you had the most energy. So we chose you. What was it like those first 3 weeks? You were in the class. I think there was 30 in that class. What
was it like the first few weeks? I'm going to say, I think that we kind of bonded right away. I feel like me and the kids, we bonded right away. I'm almost sure of it. I really love the calls. And I'll tell you right now, I feel completely blessed that I made it in on the second class where I got Brian and I got Julian and I got Chris, like straight up, like available at all times, really. I didn't test out your all times, but Chris was like, you messaged Chris and Chris was like, boom, like email right
He still does that, even with big classes.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
I don't know what he drinks.
Yeah, we got like 3 more instructors and we broke it down and we have a whole new system now to where everyone gets crazy FaceTime. But you had, all that access to everybody. So, and you had a crazy class. We had Tika, our Wall Street banker in New York, who they could write a movie about his life. I mean, he's just like, he made all his money, lost all his money, but he's so much fun and so interactive with people and so supportive. You had Claire Lim, our movement specialist in Hong Kong. You had Stevie JT here, the legal professional. You had Carla, the doctor. I mean, we had a great class. So, and everybody from the beginning was like constantly just like supporting everybody, tons of feedback on the videos, pumping everybody up. It was just tons of fun to be on that course.
And it really was incredible. It's grueling work. It's grueling work not because it's hard, it's because we make it hard. We really do. We analyze every, I'm not gonna curse, we analyze every friggin' thing. It's just so weird. It's like, for example, you tell us, oh God, that's right. We had like, get ready guys, whatever the next class is, Brian will make up on the fly, like a bonus homework assignment. He's like, bonus homework assignment, 10 vlogs in 10 days. We were like, oh, no.
Everybody loves that now. 10 vlogs in 10 days is good.
But it's really, even I still, when I vlog, it's all about the editing. It shouldn't be. Just talk for your vlogs sometimes last 10 seconds. Like whatever the cold water vlogs, you'll be like, I had a cold water shower, it was dope, and that's the vlog.
Yeah.
And so we keep thinking about what does it have to be and what should it be on? It should be completely intelligent and and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, just do the 10 vlog, just press record.
Yeah, you're so right. It's not difficult because of the work. Because someone's like, how long does it take? And I was like, 5 hours a week. And I was like, no, it doesn't even take that.
No, it doesn't.
It's like even 10 vlogs in 10 days is 5 minutes a day. It's
Yeah.
actually less than an hour. And so you make it as hard as you want to make it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you get anxious, you put all of this fear and emotion into this thing about what people are going to say and la la la. It ends up no one cares. And then once you get over it, you get better and you get better. But you're right, everyone brings so much baggage to the table.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you make it hard. That's true.
I pay homage to Chris Albert because I did a vlog about my lip balm, which is precious to me. And
There you go.
I thought, no one is going to care about this lip balm. This is the dumbest thing I've talked about. And Chris Albert, big strapping Marine, was like, the vlog that really spoke to me was the one about the lip balm, Lise.
Yeah.
I was in the jungle, and I was like, stop.
Chris gives it to you straight, man. Like, look, the beauty of a vlog is people can see if it connects because
Right.
they can feel realness.
Right.
So it can be about that. It could be, with Chris, he can see lip balm, or he can see a halal paleo cooking thing.
Right,
And it
right.
doesn't matter to him. It's like whether he can connect with the spirit. So that's why, and I think that's why making videos, especially unedited selfie videos,
Right.
is just one of the hugest things you can do. And someone said it's the lowest barrier to entry because the phone's in your pocket,
Right.
and you can do it literally in 4 seconds. And it's the highest barrier to entry because everyone puts all these barriers in front of them why they can't do it.
Right.
And so people always ask me like, oh, what's different about these classes? Oh, la, la, la. And I'm like, yeah, because we get you to do things you don't want to do.
Right.
They're going to make you get to where you want to go. It's just that simple. That's what we really do. We drag you through, and since there's a class and we're all on these calls and we look at you and I say, where's my video number 3? And you're like, oh, the whole class is like, yeah, Lisa, where's the video number 3?
That's right.
And then everyone's like, she's like, well, maybe I better get it together.
Yeah.
And then there's a mother of 4 with 3 different jobs and whatever, and then
Right.
getting every single one done. And you're like, well, wait a second, I guess I'm not that busy.
That's
So
right.
it's this whole team effort and everybody gets through. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think it's just people overcoming fears of technology, of self-expression, of business, of selling. A lot of
Yes.
people don't think they should sell, you know?
Yes.
And so we put them through the ringer and don't think they deserve money for their IP in their head. So we get them over that hump. Everyone's got something. I still have things I work on. We all have things. So the accelerator will find all the little pieces in you and then hopefully drag you through to where when people graduate, they usually feel like they've accomplished something big. So
Absolutely. And I think one of the greatest things about the accelerator is the time factor. Because we could find, I'm not going to say, because John said we could find all this for free. We can. You have hacks. You have some special hacks that, yeah, we could probably derive or develop on our own. It's going to take time because we're not looking for it. We don't know what to look for. You've already done it. Here's another thing, to interrupt myself. You really have developed London Real in such a way that it's almost completely open. You haven't hidden how you've actually developed this business. It's not a secret how you make your money. So literally, if we just watched, if we just look at the emails that you send us, all these different things, it's right there. So you literally have this class that says, I haven't hidden anything. Let me show you again what I did. And let me explain it to you in a simpler fashion. And let me do it in 8 weeks because now we're on a time schedule. So you got to do it. You just paid X amount of money. Let's go. Let's do it. So that's the time factor is kind of what gets us really to do it. You could send us an email or you could, like the webinars are like, okay, here's what you do, but there's no time factor in it. So after we watch the webinar, we go, oh, that's really cute. I'm going to try to do that one day.
yeah, right. Yeah. I had a message to someone today about the Life Accelerator. And he's like, I've already watched the episodes. How is this any different? And I was just like, okay. this is about 100 times different than just watching shows, because you have no reason to act on all this information, and most people don't, which is a shame. So, and you're really right about the other point you made. I mean, it's pretty obvious how we run our business. We have free shows, we run our email campaigns, we have our products, we have our academy, so you can see it all. And then all the things we teach you are stuff we use every single day. So like our social media stuff, it's like the day. And sometimes I'm on the calls with you and I'm like, okay, Gary Vee was in my studio this morning. This is how we booked him. It took me 9 months, but I did these steps, and you can do it too. Well, what's next? Oh yeah, the video. We did this on YouTube. YouTube's algorithm is changing, so we do this, this, and this. And so somebody said that they're like, oh yeah, learning from someone that's doing it now, not that did it 5 years ago, is like an important thing. So well, those are really good observations. And so Lisa May, after the course, how is she different than before?
Oh my goodness. There are some things that are the same, but I'll tell you something. Getting out of the accelerator, you are so intelligently stimulated. You don't know where to go. There's almost a non-focus of like wanting to save the entire world. At least that was my experience. I wrote blogs about everything. I wrote Oprah and told her how she should work her channel. It was the most hilarious.
Really? You wrote Oprah?
Yeah, and I put you in it.
Thank you.
You were in there. I was like, if you take the example of the Business Accelerator of Brian Rose and blah, 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 this is how you should do your next show. And this is what it should be about. I lost my mind.
Wow.
I lost my mind.
Or did you?
I'll send it to you. I'll
Maybe
send you
you
the
found
link.
your mind.
And she did, there's like an Oprah news blog or something like that, and they put my blog in there.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, it was a whole thing.
That's real talk. I didn't know about that.
So after, I laxed a little bit on your last 2 weeks of your course, like I did the bare minimum, because Full Sail University, which is a media online university, saw the work that I did from your class on YouTube and asked me, because I did a little course with them at one point and then I left, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm not really a school person, but I passed your course. They asked me back for free for like a year, and then said if I did well, we'd look into scholarships to continue to get a BA in media communications. So I started school with them the last 2 weeks of your course.
Wow.
So there were a lot of homework assignments about building character and just different image things, a lot of media stuff. But what's interesting is it's all the stuff that you crammed into 8 weeks. And it was just a little piece. That was one class. Like I have 4 years with these guys, and it would be just a little piece, but you crammed in 4 years into this 8-week course. And so I was like, this guy's got it on you guys. You better hurry up. So basically, I was doing a lot of homework from that. And from that homework assignment, it pulled in a lot of the things that you taught me and how to change this person's image. And I was like, if you follow this step and if you utilize these people that Brian Rose interviewed, and I pulled like all these, Phil McKernan, I pulled all these people, and I was like, these are the people you need on your show, Oprah. And this is how you need to run it like Brian Rose does. And so that was like my first homework assignment off of the last class that I did for you. So I kind of went crazy a little bit, and then I said, oh, what about Expat Real? What are we gonna do about that? And then came back into focus again. But I really was just like a bundle of intellectual nerves, and my heart was really, I mean, one thing I would suggest to everyone is that you're gonna feel like you wanna fix everything. Just remember that you have your thing, and to try to really funnel it all into your thing. Because through that, it's gonna radiate into the world and fix it anyway. And it's gonna make a bigger impact.
Okay, good advice. And if you walk down the street right now and bumped into the Lisa May that didn't take the Business Accelerator course, what's she like as opposed to what you're like now?
She's slower to make a move. She's much slower to make a move, questions everything. You know, you sure you want to do that? What's your mom gonna think? What's this person gonna think? I don't know. Will they even like me? You know, just not feeling worthy. I do still have that, like, who am I? And then I think, well, who am I? Who cares who I am? Seriously, like, mind your business.
You're talking to yourself, right?
Yeah,
Okay, right, okay, good.
you
Mind
know,
your business.
who cares? This is what I do, and this is who I am. And I think it comes back to the old Lisa didn't really know who she was and didn't really have a good relationship with herself. Whereas now, it is about the relationship with myself. And when you have a relationship with someone, you support them. You support who they are and what they do. And that's the game. And so if you start with yourself, it makes it a lot easier when you try to do it with someone else.
Amen. It's crazy you say that, and this was a business course.
And this was a business
where you
course.
learned to treat yourself with respect.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And so that's that, and that's what we kept hearing from everybody, the same things. It was like, wait a second, I got through the course and I believed in myself. I felt confident in all this stuff. And so, yeah, that's why we went on to do this Life Accelerator, because we're like, okay, let's cut the business out and go straight to the good stuff.
I think it's a great idea, and especially in the sales section of the course, because as you said, that's the hardest part. I'm a great salesperson when I'm not trying to make money for myself. I'm the type that's like, if you could just give me a paycheck, I'll sell anything for you.
Right.
But to sell for myself, like to drop $3,000 as a price for someone, like it even bothers me right now. I'm just like, oh my God.
I'll take two.
That's right. But you kept reinforcing that. You kept going, but that's your value. That's your value. This is the value. You're giving someone a new entire lifestyle where they feel great about themselves and they're upgrading their lifestyle within their means. That's serious business.
Yeah, and I remember looking at the call and I'm like, how many people believe that they have a product that's worth $3,000 out there? And everyone's just like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, but there is someone in the world that would pay for you to train them for 6 to 8 weeks and give you all the IP in your brain. Right. Say, for example, all the things that you just talked about all these expat things. There's a lot of people that might want to relocate their life and, save 20, 30 grand a year by doing this. They'd be happy to pay you $3,000. All you have to do is find the right 100 people out of the 6 or 7 billion in the world, and those people find that knowledge really valuable. Plus, you got amazing energy. You've lived there and done that. Yeah, I want that, Lisa May. And so all you have to do is find the right people and then and then productize what's in your head the right way. But a lot of people have a big hang up about that.
It was really tough, but you were really good in reinforcing that.
Well, it was awesome having you there, and you were like great energy on that course, and it was just amazing. So this weekend, you were just hanging out with all those other Accelerator graduates.
Yes.
What'd you think of all that and that vibe and the whole thing?
Well, again, it goes back to being family oriented. I mean, everybody, even though no one knew anybody, everybody knew everybody. But at the same time, I made very good use of the London Real Thursday calls that we have every Thursday.
Yes,
I'm not going to give a time because I'm always in a different time zone every time I have the call.
Right, it's 7 o'clock London time. But yeah, they do these calls in the academy where anybody can call in, and I'm not there, so it's fun.
Isn't that nice?
And then you can just hang out and meet people. So you'd already met a bunch of people.
Right, I'd met a bunch of people, but I started doing that previously because I was going through a time in Belize where I was just like, I'm always by myself, and I hadn't really made friends. And there was a big hurricane there, and it kind of brought that back around to, why am I here by myself? Why am I not making friends? So I started working on my relationships, and that the accelerator also helped with that because we had 2 calls a week, and those guys were like my friends. Like me and Tika were like brother and sister, and So I knew some folks, but at the same time, coming to London was like seeing my family. Like, these are my peeps. This is what we're doing. And getting out of a little bit of interrogation at the UK, he even asked me, he said, so you're here, how many friends do you have here? And I was like 30? Like, I didn't even know how to answer that question because and I was like, well, I haven't really met them yet. And then he was like, I have to come back, and he had to consult his people about what that means. And
Customs didn't understand
yeah, they didn't get it.
They knew them all virtually.
Is this a new phenomenon? And I was like, I think so, But that's how I felt. I felt like I was going to meet my great friends. And then the other part was, this is a whole new conversation I'm having with these people. There's more intellect going on. There's all this IP being exchanged. Like, it's insane. It's not about We're not having conversations about someone's girlfriend and how she did them wrong. And, there's no soap opera involved. This is all about IP and how we can make this world a better place. Like, that's the legit conversation. I can go for that.
Yeah, super powerful. I didn't notice that, So we had a big dinner on Saturday night, and there was like 35 or 40 of us there, and we had to, this cool chef made us like a 10-course meal, and we were balling in a grubby kind of Shoreditch place. It was awesome. But like you said, people are talking about like ways they can contribute to the world. Things that they can do to make it a better place, like all these ideas for the future. And I forget it, no one's talking about their girlfriend or about this guy or that guy made more money than me. It was none of that. It was all this, and you could feel the energy in the room, and you have all these people from countries all around the world. People ask me, I'm not in London, I can't take your course. I'm like, I got people in Belize, I got people in Ecuador, I got people in Australia, New Zealand, America. I mean, John McMahon flew over from California. He rented a place in Shoreditch. It was like 10 guys or 12 guys in there. They had some were sleeping on a beanbag. Apparently they had a stripper pole that the guys were using.
Oh, I didn't know it was at the house.
It was at the house. So, but like, and they all of a sudden were like just all bonded with each other, and everybody did. But I guess it's because everybody's having the same conversation, and everyone kind of has that London Real energy, as in they found us because they wanted to tune into new ideas and people thinking about, improving themselves and the world and things like that. So, even Julian and I and all the crew here, we even get surprised sometimes with what we've kind of manifested, because we're in here in the studio sometimes just broadcasting. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
And you don't know how it's bouncing around the world until 30 people fly to London, pay for their own tickets, and then all of a sudden you're in a room and you're like, whoa, this is powerful.
Yeah.
So, it was great to have you there and just
Thank you for
see
dinner,
all that
by the
happen.
way. That was amazing.
Oh, you're welcome. It was awesome, right? I want to take like 3 questions from people that are on here. I see Zoe's there, Louise Carrier's in there, Andre Guerin, Louise Vanderdeld. Julian has reminded me the call is at 8 o'clock on Thursdays, British time, and that's in the Academy. They do a call. I think Jabal from Paris, love Jabal, is hosting
to visit him.
that. Oh, you are going to visit him.
I can't
Give him a big
wait.
hug from me.
Yes.
Jabal is our man in Paris. He runs Jabal Cafe, which is his show, and he took a train to our focus group, took a train and did a real talk with me. He's amazing. So anyways, submit your questions for Lisa. If there's something I haven't asked, please ask it. But I want to ask you, what's your future look like?
I'm actually going to find a home base, which some folks know, and I'm going to Portugal. I've heard great things about Portugal, and getting the visa, doing the whole 9 yards. I'm looking at cottages that are blowing my mind right now for the price. I'm just like, meow. I can't wait.
You're crazy.
But that's.
So you're going to settle down. You're not going to house sit anymore.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay, all right.
I want a place to put my stuff. I'm tired of carrying around the bag. I did start out with just a backpack. Like, I totally just had a backpack.
Okay.
But I'm a girl. I need more than a backpack,
I get it.
I gotta go out. Some people want to go out. I gotta, I need stuff. And after a while, I was doing longer and longer house sits that were lasting like 6 months. And some people have stuff, some people don't. I need a blender for bulletproof coffee. Like, I gotta get my blender in there, and I gotta blend. I gotta with the vegetables. I gotta cut. I need things, and so I need a place to keep my stuff. I'd like to have clothes. I'm a girl. I'd like to have some clothes.
I feel you. Look, if you're feeling this need, then you obviously need to honor it and kind of do it. I'm so happy you're thinking about hanging out in Europe, because you'll be closer and we can see you more often, and you can start building up our European network, with all of our heads of the 12 families. So that's really cool that you're doing that, and I'm glad you're going to get this flavor over here, because it's fun over here.
My thought was to shake up Expat Real a bit. My next project for Expat Real is to have a location and to have people. My market is America, but this is for anybody who really, really wants to try living abroad and living within their means, but are really just like, God, I can't do this by myself. And I'm here to tell you, it's not easy to do it by yourself, especially as a girl. There's all sorts of things you got to look out for, and it's a tough scene. Come live with me. Come live with me. I'm getting a big place. We'll share. We'll co-live, and I'll make the peeps first. I'll make the connections first, and I'll hook you up, and I'll help you every step of the way.
if you can't take her up on that offer, what's wrong with you?
Come
Okay,
to Portugal.
I love it. And they find you what? Expat Real? Is it Expat Real? What?
Expat Real, www.expatrealtv.
Oh, .tv, nice call.
.com.
Yeah. What a great offer. Okay, I love it. All right, so watch this space. More information coming out soon.
Yeah.
We might know what country you're landing in, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So house sits will be sort of mini house sits going to different countries in Europe, and I will use that opportunity to interview expats in those countries, and that's where my shows will come from.
okay, and you might be bouncing around to different countries
Yeah.
and interviewing them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to do in Europe than it is in South America, like money-wise. Like flights are cheap. You
Yeah.
pick up a backpack, you're done.
It's like so easy to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you, a lot of people they're watching a lot of these interviews because we're putting out one with Chris Albert and Rob Sizer and John McMahon, and people are like, okay, but I watch all the episodes of London Real, but like, I don't know if I really need to be in the academy, or I don't need to be on the accelerators and stuff. I don't know what to tell them because I've written all the emails.
Right.
What do you tell them?
There was a time during the founding 50 or just before that where you were giving out all of your content, everything, success secrets, everything. And you are now not. It is all in the academy. You can watch some stuff. There are some things out there that you're giving out to people and saying, hey, I'm still going to share. But I'll tell you something, guys. Those success secrets, they're like gold. There are all these golden nuggets that are within the academy. I don't, to me, if it's like soup or paying for the academy, I'm paying for the academy, and I'll just have bread. No
Feeding
soup.
the mind, aren't you?
But there was one person that actually talked to me, and she said, Lise, I'm going through financial times. I think I'm going to have to move, and I'm probably going to have to leave the academy. But interestingly enough, she called me to ask me what I thought about leaving the academy, which I thought was crazy. But hey, and it was all, I had nothing to win or lose to sell your one membership or anything. Like you and I hadn't talked about it or anything like that. But I just said to her, I said, you know what? I go through those times, hon. I go through those times where I go, oh, am I going to make membership this time or what? And then I think to myself, I've been living off this membership. Like every time I think, oh, it's just going to be the same thing, you come out with something else. And it's inspiring. And you're almost, I don't know what it's like to have a bigger brother, but every once in a while you'll say something, or you'll say something to me, and it'll be like a big brother tip. And I'll just be like, wow, I really needed that. That's worth anything to me. That is worth anything to me. And I reminded her, I said, not for nothing, it's $30 a month. You telling me you can't put aside $30 a month? Like, what's $30? Because that's not rent. Come on. And then she thought about it and she was like, it is only $30 a month. I was like, don't wait the 3 months. Put aside $30 a month. It'll be a lot easier, But you have a lot of golden nuggets that you don't get in the little interviews. And there's so much personable conversation that goes on with the members that you also don't get in the interviews. I mean, sometimes we comment. There's a lot of people that comment on the YouTube space, but there isn't a community. The community does not exist on the YouTube only.
Yeah, and then there's also this kind of sub-community, which is like you and Tony and Chris Albert and Olive and all these people that are like kind of this ambassador stage, and you guys go and hang out with each other and talk, and the people on those Zoom calls, and that's where that energy is. And I agree, that doesn't happen on YouTube because YouTube doesn't really pre-select these people. YouTube is more of, I'm talking about that guy's girlfriend crowd,
Exactly.
And then the academy's more about the other stuff. So.
Yeah, and it's about also getting serious. I mean, do you want to be serious about yourself? Like, do you really want to be accountable? Do you really want to have someone hold you accountable? Because that's the game. The membership fee is one part of the accountability. There's so much more than that. And so you're really getting a lot of feedback and a lot of energy that really does pump you up into the next level. It's there. It's always there for you. And sometimes when I feel like, you always go through those moments where you feel like you're not good enough or whatever. And I think about getting into a slump. And before I do that, I start to decide what are some other options I could do besides going into this slump. And I go, well, let me see what people are doing on Expat Real. What's Brian talking about today? What's going on today? And it'll always be something. It may not be you, it might be a comment that someone made, but it's within the academy, it's not on the YouTube. And so I can always go to the academy to find something that says, please, get your shit together, Lisa. Keep going, move forward. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, you're so right. And it's funny because I get the feeling that a lot of people that buy these courses sometimes don't want to do them. Right. And like apparently that's common knowledge out there is that like 80% of the people that buy the courses don't do them.
Right.
And like that doesn't make any sense to me because on our course, like everybody's on the call, like Chris does roll call like a Marine. Like we don't do this like passive thing.
Right.
And so I guess we should at some point, but we don't know how to do it any other way. Like for us, like we're all pretty serious around here. We show up every day and we go hard because like we know that's how we get things done.
Right.
So that's how we teach our courses. And I don't know if everyone's ready for that, but that's all we know how to do. So I think we're just going to keep doing it our way. But
I like it. I think the
like
other
you said,
thing,
not everybody's ready for that.
people always say to me all the time, oh, that's hard. I'll say, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And oh, wow, that's not like it's almost like they got a headache because I told them what I was going to do because it sounds so hard. I'm like, but life is hard. But it doesn't have to be grueling. Like, living life can be the challenge that exhilarates you. This is the game. And the game is not all about tripping through the park with flowers. Like, sometimes there are these, tough mudder challenges. But that's exhilarating. That pumps you up. So when you guys go hard, like, that's called life. That's called your heart pumping. That's life. It's living. So I'm down for it.
Damn, you really dropped some wisdom. I had no idea. I don't get this on the Zoom calls. So, Lisa, it's such an honor. It's just like, honestly, it's such an honor to know someone like you and to have someone like you in our academy. It really is. And, we go out there and I interview all these people and we blast this stuff out there. But really the reward for us is having people like you in our lives. And like, you're like literally part of the family, My Ariana knows you and, you hang out with her and my boy and like everyone's hanging out and it's this tight group. And, that's a real honor, especially for me 5 years ago, I really didn't have any friends. And now I've got not only friends, but like really, really solid people. So anyways, I feel fortunate to have you in my life and everyone here at London Real is super fortunate to have you around. So just want to say thank you. I want to acknowledge you for all the hard work. You deserve that damn scholarship. You worked at it. You really kicked butt, at least the first 6 weeks of the Business Accelerator. And you had everybody looking bad. And so that was a beautiful thing. And I'm expecting great things from you in the future. I'm glad you're local and going to be a couple hours away. So, to us doing more awesome stuff together and, let us know how we can help.
That would be amazing. And it's amazing to be here. This is incredible. And I'm glad I got a chance that we could chat.
Me too.
I
I'm
love
glad
chatting.
we finally did this. And you're acting like you own the place. And I guess you do, since we're separated at birth. So it's awesome. All right, well, I'm wrapping up this Real Talk.
Okay.
It's Lisa May, Expat Real. Get in touch. You're going to hear a lot more from her if you don't already know her. And you can go stay with her at her country of choice.
Come stay with me.
Which will be announced shortly. So that's awesome. As we say on London Real, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
I wish you well on the rest of yours. And till the next time.
Till the next time.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.